for better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got, and when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on breathing.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of the Fraochknits podcast. It's really a delight and a pleasure to be with you today, coming from my front garden, where I am sitting amongst the rushes and the buttercups. I don't know if you can see these, and I've picked some of the flowers actually to show you, and here they are. So I'm out in the front garden and coming to you from an absolutely glorious 28th of May 2023, the beginning of the real summer here in Ireland. So just to remind you that my name is Anya. I'm podcasting from the west of Ireland. Most of this is about knitting. Most of my podcast is about knitting, and I do also include information on myths and folklore and Irish culture, particularly to do with nature and wildlife, wild plants, wildflowers, and animals and birds. So you're all very welcome. Please excuse any interference from the wind. It's absolutely impossible to ever have a day in Ireland, especially in the west of Ireland, that isn't windy. So it's a really calm day by general standards, but I think the microphone might be picking up some of that wind. So I couldn't podcast indoors. It's too dark. The contrast between the sunlight that's coming into the room and the dark of the room is too great, so you couldn't see the picture at all. So this is the only way I can actually video today, I can film today. But it's lovely for me. I hope that you're getting a sense of how beautiful it is here. So we probably have about 19 or 20 degrees today, Celsius, and the sun is shining and the wind is really light. So it's absolutely beautiful here. So I'm delighted to be able to sit out in what is a wildflower meadow. Essentially, I've left my front garden. I have left it unmowed. I don't mow it. I don't cut the grass in May. So we have a whole campaign here in Ireland, and I don't know if this is in other parts of the world as well, but it's called No Mow May, which means that you don't mow your garden, and all of these incredible wildflowers start coming up. You give the wildflowers a chance to come up, and some of these, as I was showing you at the beginning, these are some of them, and this is probably the most incredible flower that's coming up at the moment. This is an Irish marsh orchid, Magdalene Féitheamh, I think is what it's called. There are so many different wild orchids in Ireland. There's about 20 different species or varieties, so they all have slightly similar names. But I must have now about 50 of these in my garden, and I had maybe about 10 of them last year. So every year I get more of these. It's absolutely brilliant. They're such a delight to see. And I think, I'm not sure what these are, like little violets. They could be Herb Robert, I'm not entirely sure what they're called. And these are a type of buttercup, the really tall-stemmed buttercups. So yeah, so this is me. It's a fabulous day, and you're all very welcome. I can see my knitting is getting caught up in my wildflowers now. That's not good. Okay, so what was I going to talk to you about today? Well, I have not been able to do a huge amount of knitting, and it's been 5 weeks since my last podcast, so thank you all for being so patient and waiting for me to get around to podcasting again. Life has just been really busy. This time of the year is always busy. It's like everybody's really waking up again after the winter and getting out and deciding they want to do stuff, and so I have lots of work on at the moment, which is a really good thing. But it's just meant that I spend less time indoors, less time for knitting, which is natural at this time of the year. And I think I sort of lost my mojo a bit for a while as well. I think I just knit for too long one day, and I was a bit exhausted after it, and I said I needed a break. So yeah, I was going to talk to you about a couple of finished objects, no finished objects, a couple of works in progress, almost finished. And also the whole idea of whether swatching is worth it or not. I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about that, because I've found in the last project that I've cast on that the swatch was absolutely invaluable, and it's just for so many different reasons, not just for gauge measuring and all that sort of thing. So so where will I start? Goddo is here, delighted that I'm outside, and he's getting ensconced here on top of the knitting, of course. So I thought I'd show you some of the actually I do have a finished object, but you've seen these before. This is a pair of socks that I've knit before, so this is my second pair of the very same design. So these are striped socks, and they are the Socksploration socks by Denise DeSantis, and they are a lovely shadow wrap short row heel. They're knit top down, and they are knit with holding 2 yarns double. So I was holding at least the main body of the sock is two yarns double. The cuff, the heel and the toe are actually a single strand of Merlino by the Walk collection, and the other yarns are all one strand of silk mohair held double with a merino singles, so to give the merino single strength. And so these are for my sister, because when she saw the ones that I had knit for myself, which I'm actually wearing today, she was really just delighted with them and thought would love a pair, so I said I'll get you a pair. So these are going to be winging their way to Neve. Hi Neve, if you're watching. Hi Dad, if you're watching as well. I know my dad is watching these podcasts, so it's really a thrill to think that he's getting some value. I think he doesn't really watch the boring knitting section. He's not a knitter, but he loves the Irish culture. So hi Dad. Hope you're enjoying this one. So that's one finished object, and then the second one is another pair of socks. So you saw the last time I had finished one half of this pair, and as you can see, they are the Ovis socks. So you see the lovely colour work of the sheep, and the rest of it is a gorgeous colour work pattern as well, which isn't really that visible because of the marling of the strand of silk mohair. And I was holding that double with the lace weight Galway sheep wool from Cushendale Woolen Mills in County Kilkenny. So these the colourways are jade and rust, I think, and I'm not sure if the jade is still available. It's a beautiful sort of duck egg blue, and I love the way the designer, I think it's the Petite Knitter is her name, and I love the way she, in nearly all of her designs, does the opposite, does a sort of a negative, positive negative of the socks. So you actually get a really lovely contrast. They're like a pair, but they're not quite, which I sort of like. I sort of like things not quite matching. So I'm thrilled with these, and I've been wearing them. They're so comfortable. They're really lightweight because it's just two lace weights held together. And they're super soft, and I'm delighted that these are actually knit with Irish wool as well. So I'm going to be putting these into the Irish knit along. the Irish Cal 2023, which finishes up on the 3rd of June. So that's actually the end of this week, or this weekend coming, I think, is the 3rd of June, next weekend. So so get your entries in for the Irish knit along if you're going to enter. If you've knit something that's using an Irish designer's pattern, or if you're knitting with Irish yarn, then you can enter. So then for my latest work in progress. So this is I made great progress on this actually. Sorry, got it sitting on the wall. No, come on. Good boy. So this is the downtown hoodie, and it's almost finished, as you can see. I have knit the body and most of the 2 sleeves, and I think that's the front, and I absolutely love it. So this is out of Old Centrum Sport Weight, and it's anthracite is the colour, is the black, and the red stripe then is the, I should say the designer is Tori Yu. So this is the Downtown Hoodie by Tori Yu, anthracite, and the red is a Falu red, I think. I absolutely love this. So I still have to do the hood on it. There's a hood on this, and I still have to do the cuffs on the sleeves, and I think I'm going to have to re-knit the bottom of the I did a stretchy bind off on this hem, and actually it's too stretchy, it's too wavy. So I'm actually just going to bind off maybe in a larger needle, using a larger needle, and that should give it enough stretch. I mean, there's really enough stretch in this rib anyway. I don't think I really need a stretchy bind off. Yes, I'm absolutely thrilled with this. I knit the sleeves together on a single needle. I knit them together so that I would, so it's the first time I've actually tried to do this, knitting the 2 sleeves together just at the same time, and it worked out really well because I was able to keep track of where the increases were happening, and I know that I'm always unsure where I've actually done the increases or counting. I'm not great at counting the rows, and so just to make sure that the sleeves were exactly the same shape. But the only downside of that was, because this is quite sort of heavy wool, and I don't know, whatever way I was holding the needles and accommodating all of this yarn and a big jumper in the middle of it all, I was holding my arm funny, so I actually got a strain in my shoulder, which hasn't really gone away. So I think that's really, so this was brought to this stage 3 weeks ago, so like I haven't done anything with it since, because I was sort of put off by the effect that the knitting the 2 sleeves had, the 2 sleeves together had on my shoulder. So so that's why I decided to knit these gorgeous socks instead. So these are really the only things I did until about midweek last week, and I thought I really should do a podcast of the weekend, and I haven't got very much to show, so I thought I'd do a new cast on, as you do, instead of finishing what I already have. So I cast on a project using the yarn that I was given really kindly by Caroline from Life in the Long Grass earlier this year, and she gave me this beautiful, like loads of skeins, 6 skeins, 3 of green linen merino mix, singles, fingering weight, and 3 beautiful colours of sort of heather colours. So here they are. If you remember, this is what I was gifted earlier this year. So this beautiful yarn from Life in the Long Grass. So this is the linen merino, and these 3 are merino, and they're all singles. So and fingering weight. And I spent a long time trying to really decide what I was going to do, what I was going to knit with them, and in the end I decided to hold them double with with mohair, so to get a DK weight, or close to a DK weight, because the pattern that I had been longing to do for ages, and the colour is Caitlin Hunter's Soldotna Crop. So this is where I'm at with it, and as you can see, it is turning out really nicely. I love this combination of colours, and of course, you know, they were so well chosen by Caroline, and they are so close to a lot of the wildflowers. If you look at the colour of the orchids in my garden, they're actually almost identical to, there's somewhere in between this pink and this purple. So I just think that this is, and the green is so close to the green of the grass. So the jumper really are the Soldotna Crop, and the colours that I've chosen are so, they're so appropriate really for what I'm looking out at every day from my house. Every day I'm looking at these beautiful colours. So I'm holding double, and literally I've just used everything, whatever I had in my stash in terms of the silk mohair that I'm holding it double with. So I'm holding it double with the green with this much sort of lighter green. So these two together giving the beautiful, this sort of muted green shade. So they sort of really complement each other very well, these two greens. And I'm holding this lovely, really light, this is called Crush. It's a really light lilac-y sort of colour and a pinky lilac, and I'm holding that double with just a cream coloured mohair. And then finally, this was the sort of bravest choice, was holding the sort of gorgeous, this is called Halcyon, this one, and holding this double with the this pink, this sort of neon pink silk mohair that I got in, it was on special offer one time when I was ordering other yarn from Pearl Soho, and I ordered a skein of this and a skein of the purple mohair, which you can't see, I don't have any of it left. I'm going to have to order, so I'm actually going to have to order more purple silk mohair. But there was a lovely purple that I'm holding double with the amethyst. So this is Caitlin Hunter's Soldotna Crop, and I'm absolutely thrilled that I'm finally knitting with this beautiful yarn, and that I've chosen a cropped short sleeve top, which hopefully isn't going to take me too long to knit. And I just love colour work. I mean, it's really my happy place. I just love knitting with it, knitting colour work patterns. It's just so exciting to see the pattern emerging as you're knitting along. So yeah, absolutely thrilled with how that's going. And I just started that literally, I think it was Wednesday, so it's only been a couple of evenings, 3 or 4 evenings work, and yeah, so very, very excited about that. So that's really it for the knitting. As I was saying, I don't have a huge amount to show you, but what I thought I'd do to sort of, by way of supplementing that, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about swatching. So this was the swatch that I did for the Soldotna Crop. So this swatch is it really gives you an idea very quickly of how the colours are going to work together. And I think this was one of the main reasons that I wanted to swatch for this. Apart from seeing, did the recommended needle size give me the right gauge holding these two yarns together, because I'm diverging from the weight of yarn that's recommended in the pattern, which is a DK weight, but fingering and silk mohair lace weight. Fingering and lace often will give you somewhere close to a DK weight. But apart from that, I actually really just wanted to see whether I liked the colours together. And in this case, I like them so much that I've just kept them as they are. I'm going with those colours, with the colours in that combination and in that placement. The pattern is just an incredible sort of blank canvas in one way for being creative with colour. And I think there are over 7,000 projects on Ravelry of this pattern, and they're all so different because of the placement of the colour and how that changes how the pattern actually looks in reality when it's finished. So I'm thrilled with that swatch, and I did get gauge with, I think I had to change needle size. I've gone up a needle size, so I'm at 4mm instead of 3.75. So that's that swatch. And then I just thought I would show you a case where I swatched for a colourwork pattern and I didn't end up using the colours. So this was my swatch for another Caitlin Hunter pattern, the Nordiska, and you've probably, if you've watched this podcast before, you'll have seen the actual finished product. So these were colours that I had originally thought would work, and when I knit them up in the swatch, I just didn't like the overall effect. I thought it was just a little bit maybe dull. It's not what I was looking for. But what I did like was this beautiful gold colour, and I thought I'm going to keep that in the mix. And eventually, I didn't do another swatch, but I just knew enough at that stage to know that these colours were what I wanted. So this is the This is the finished jumper, and as you can see, the gold was kept, and I used red and this lovely beigey colour instead. So that's an example where the swatch, you don't always have to just knit what or go with the colours you've chosen, or even knit another swatch, but this was enough to tell me what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go with my pattern, with the project. So that's the Nordiska. I just love Caitlin Hunter's patterns. And then just another example of swatching for a different reason. So this is the swatch that I did for my Albina McLaughlin's turntable pullover, and this is 4x1 rib, and it's sort of difficult enough to gauge the size of your stitch count and that, so to get the right gauge, especially when you wash and block it. And with ribbing, I mean, this is all explained really well in the pattern by Albina. She shows how to achieve a sort of semi-open rib, so you're not stretching it too much, but you can still see that it's a rib jumper. So that was essential, to do a swatch, to wash it and to pin it, and at the right gauge that you were going to go for. And that worked out really well. I actually got the right gauge the first time, which is really unusual. And this is the finished sweater, which I absolutely love to wear. And you can see how the ribbing is a lovely sort of open rib, and I suppose that was achieved through just understanding. Hello again, everybody, and sorry for getting interrupted there. I was in the middle of telling you a little bit about the swatching that I have done in the past and the usefulness of swatching. So I've just a couple more to show you there in relation to that. This is an interesting one. So this is a swatch that I did for the downtown hoodie. So I had an idea at one stage that I would use this green colour and put it with the red. I have a sweaters quantity of this beautiful green blue-faced Leicester. I forget the name of the yarn. It's from the UK. Absolutely gorgeous yarn, and I still haven't found a project for it. But I had an idea I might use it for the downtown hoodie, and instead I went for the black. And I knew, I suppose, as soon as I got to the black with the red, that's actually the colours that I wanted. So that was another swatch where I was just trying out colours to see. And as you can see, this is the nearly finished product, so I'm really delighted with the black and the red that I chose for that. Can't wait to finish it now that I've taken it back out of its bag again, after my experience of getting tired knitting with the two sleeves together. Another swatch that I did then for a project that you already have seen is this lovely cable swatch for the Decision cardigan by Ankastrick. This is beautiful, two yarns held together, a sport weight and a lace weight again. It's silk mohair for the lace weight, Ito Sensei, I think, and the other yarn then is a lovely rustic woolly wool from France, a Derriere Natura, and it's in the colourway Arable. So, and I think rolled gold or old gold oak, I think, might be the colour of the mohair. So this is one that I really needed to swatch for, because when you wash and block cables, they definitely they loosen out a lot. So really good advice to swatch for a cabled pattern, and especially as well, seeing as I just needed to know whether I was going to get the right gauge. So that worked out quite well as well. I don't think I changed needle sizes for that one. That was okay. So that was a good reason for swatching. So yeah, I suppose the two main reasons I swatch are for colour, for colour work, to get the combination of colours that I really want, and to make a decision about it before I start knitting a big amount of fabric. And the other reason then is for gauge, for textured patterns, particularly for cable work, and for the ribbing. the overall rib sweater. So I suppose the final reason is just without a pattern, just to swatch. So I swatched this stripy thing here just for the fun of it, just to see what I thought these colours looked like together. I don't have a pattern in mind, possibly Andrea Mari's stripes, but still, I mean, it could be any pattern or any, something that really is an inspirational swatch. So to inspire yourself to use certain yarns or to put them together, or to maybe then when you see a pattern you think, oh, you have a swatch not just in your head, you have it in reality. And actually just looking at this, every time I see it, I want to put particularly the yellow, the brown and the green together. I've none of this red left. I can always order more. This is Old Centrum as well. And the green is the green that I'm using this is Biche Bouche, Le Petit Silk Mohair, that I'm using in the Soldotna Crop. But that's it held double. It's a lovely, lovely texture. I'd love to knit one of those jumpers or tops or sweaters where you have a stripe of a fingering weight yarn, and then, or perhaps a DK weight, or a sport weight, whatever, but then alternating with stripes of silk mohair held double. It's just a gorgeous texture. So I think swatches are great for giving you inspiration for, just pick up any few balls of yarn and start knitting and see what comes up. Another one that I wanted to show you, I forgot to bring out the final result, but this was actually the swatch that I did, and this one. These two little swatches were done when I was trying to decide what yarns to use for the MCAL, the Stephen West MCAL last year. If you've watched my podcast, you've seen the colours that I finally chose, which were some of these, not all. Actually, it was the green. I used the green, and that was it, I think. The other colours were all different. And initially I was going to use these, and it's just, I saw immediately when I put them together in the swatch that it's just not the effect that I was looking for at the time. So it just wasn't doing anything for me. And I know, so when you knit a swatch where you get excited like this, really, when I knit this, I went, oh my god, I definitely want to use these colours in these placements. So when you get inspired by a swatch, it just gives you this launch into the project that you really, you just love the whole process then, because you're sure of where you're going with it. And even at one point when I was knitting up the sweater, I began to be unsure about the placement of the sort of pinky, light pink shade against the green, and I thought, oh, do I really like that? Is it too high a contrast? And in the end, with the swatch, I just looked at it and I said, no, it actually really does work. So, you're not relying on your imagination only, you have a physical thing to look back on. So swatches are really good for that reason as well. So lots of reasons. And to be honest with you, they're not a waste of time. They're pleasurable to knit as well. They're also a little bit of yarn that you can go back and sort of quarry if you run out at the end. And maybe one day I'm thinking I'd love to make a blanket or something, just putting them all together as memories of different projects that I've knit. So there you go. That's the story there with swatching. It's actually getting really warm out here. It's just, I can't believe the weather is so good. We're really lucky, and I think we're going to be getting more of this. So in Ireland, next weekend, which is the first weekend in June, is June Bank Holiday. And so we have a 3-day weekend, and it's just really, this time of the year is really the beginning of our Irish summer, which doesn't get very hot, it doesn't last very long, and we could get really cold days in the middle of the summer as well. So when we get a day like this, you just want to be outside, because you want to grasp it and grab hold of it, because literally tomorrow could be lashing rain and could be 12 degrees, so hopefully not. So with that, I'm just looking for my glasses here to see if I can read my notes, because I'm going to, I think, finish up on the knitting section there. And thank you so much for watching. If you are not interested in the cultural Irish folklore, mythology, wildlife, wild plants section, then I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching, and you can find more information about my knitting, or keep up to date with my progress on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as @Fraochknits, and I should remind anybody who hasn't seen me before, hasn't seen this podcast before, that Fraoch means heather. So my my name is inspired by the heather in the mountains around me here. You can't see them, they're behind that hedge there. But yes, so I basically live on the side of a mountain, and that's why I've got so many rushes, because the ground here is basically bog, and I get these beautiful orchids that I was showing you earlier because of the marshy ground. So one of these is also known, yeah, I told you that it's the marsh orchid, the Irish marsh orchid. So yeah, just it's a stunning place to live, and that's why I've chosen the word Fraoch to represent my podcasting and my Instagram handle. And by the way, just as well to say thank you so much to everybody for all your comments. I didn't get around to answering everybody's the last time, but I did give a little heart to everybody who commented, and I read them all and they mean so much to me. So thank you so much everybody for commenting on the podcast, and it's just such a delight to share this love of crafting and knitting and culture, and yeah, it's a great community, as I say every time, but it's absolutely true, and it really encourages me to keep podcasting and to keep putting time into it. And I know that, so it takes me about a day to make one of these, which seems crazy, but by the time I set everything up and write up a few notes and then do the editing, I'm very slow at editing, getting a little bit faster, but it still takes time. So I really love it's all paid back when people get some joy out of it and get some entertainment or whatever, and some information, some inspiration. So yeah, thanks everybody so much for all of your involvement and your comments and your likes and your subscribes. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, of course, you know what to do. So yeah, so we'll move on to the content to do with our Irish culture, and this time I have chosen the cuckoo as the subject of my little ramble into Irish culture and mythology and folklore. And I've been so inspired by the cuckoo this year. I don't know what it is, whether I just haven't heard him before. Apologies for the road, the sound of the cars going by, and apologies for the wind if it's interfering with the microphone. But the cuckoo this year has really been apparent to me, and I don't know whether it's moving in where it wasn't there before. I've planted a lot of trees in my garden. I planted about 100 trees last year, and they're all thriving. They're all native species, and I think I'm hoping already they're having a positive impact on the bird life, and certainly the insect life has increased, and the number of bees I see around has definitely increased. So I'm hoping that's why I'm hearing the cuckoo, and maybe it's just I'm more aware and listening out for it. But this year, one morning about 2 weeks ago, on the 20th of May actually, because I made a video of it, and I'm hoping that I'm having trouble at the moment getting the video off my phone, but I'm hoping to be able to upload that at the end of this podcast, so you'll actually hear the sound of the cuckoo. And it was so loud, it was right outside my front window. So I woke up at 7 or every time in the morning around 7 o'clock to hear this really, really loud cuckoo right outside the window, and he would call several times and then go silent. And when he was silent, you could hear a cuckoo at the other end of the valley. So I live literally on the side of a hill, and the road runs down in about 200 or 300 meters to a lower valley, and you could hear the echo in the distance of another cuckoo calling in response. So it was just a magical moment, and I've heard the cuckoo now more times than ever here before. So and it's such a sound of summer, of the coming of summer. So I thought I'd look into a little bit about its connections, stories in Irish culture about the cuckoo. So the Irish word for cuckoo is cuach, and it is, as everybody knows, I mean, there's folklore and myths about the cuckoo in every country that the cuckoo appears, every European country that it comes to. So it comes to Europe in the summer, and it goes back to North Africa for the winter. So it's a migratory bird, which in itself is just absolutely amazing to think that this bird can travel so far and comes back year upon year. And we all know, of course, the story of the fact that the cuckoo is, it's a sort of a cruel story of nature, that the cuckoo puts the eggs of another bird, so it lays its eggs in another bird's nest, and it puts those, the eggs of that other bird get thrown out when the young cuckoo hatches. So it's pretty gruesome and awful, but that's nature, that's the way it is. But it's interesting to note that in Ireland, the most common nest that it chooses to lay its eggs in is I had it here, I think it's called the meadow pipit. And the meadow pipit in Irish is given a name that associates it with the cuckoo. If I can find it in my notes here. So yeah, it's called the meadow pipit. Is given in Irish. The names are Soldotna Crop, which means nurse of the cuckoo, amazing, and Soldotna Crop, which means servant of the cuckoo. So I just think this is absolutely fascinating that, it's well known the meadow pipit is the one who ends up nursing or being of service to the cuckoo. So we know that this is what happens, but it wasn't until the 1920s that everybody could agree on how the cuckoo actually did this. So there were theories that the cuckoo used to lay its eggs somewhere else and then swallow the egg and regurgitate it into the nest of the meadow pipit or whatever nest it was using. But it wasn't until this was myth, but it wasn't until the 1920s that an ornithologist named Edgar Chance filmed a cuckoo for the first time laying its eggs in another bird's nest, and literally it just lays the eggs normally and does this really quickly when the other birds are away, and that's all. It's as simple as that, but it's amazing to think that the cuckoo can lay 10 to 20 eggs in this way. So they have plenty of ways of I suppose, keeping their population numbers high. And the amazing thing then as well is that the young cuckoos who are reared by the other birds, the other species, they know how to get back to Africa without ever having been shown the way. They have this navigational ability and instinct. So it's unbelievable that they can actually, it's built in, it's in their DNA, they just know how to do it. I mean, all these things, when you start thinking about them, they're just incredible. And they're just such a sense of, it brings such a sense of wonder, when you actually start really thinking that this bird that you hear outside your bedroom window one morning has come all the way from Africa, from North Africa, and that it's about to lay its eggs in some other poor bird's nest. And it's its song is so full of the hope of summer, and I suppose this beautiful feeling that, we are at an easy time of the year. This is a beautiful time of the year. The flowers are all coming out, the sun is hopefully going to shine, and the days are really long. I mean, one of the lovely things about an Irish summer is that we have light up until by midsummer we have light up till about 11:30 or midnight. It hardly gets dark at all, and at the moment it's light up until about 9:30 or 10. So it won't be long now before that goes another hour. So we have these long summer days that you can do so much with. So the cuckoo appears as well in early Irish poetry and stories as a symbol of beauty, as well as summertime. It's a symbol of beauty. And a few little quotes from Irish folklore. In a poem about summer, the warrior Fionn McCool mentions the cuckoo. He says, "The hardy busy cuckoo calls, welcome noble summer." So even since the time of Fionn McCool, the cuckoo was associated with the beginning of the summer season. And the warrior Oisin of the Fianna also proclaimed, "The music of the woods is best to me, the sound of the wind and the cuckoo, and the blackbird and the sweet silence of the crane." So Fionn McCool, Oisin, all of these mythical characters of Irish folklore, even then recognised that, so the cuckoo not only comes to me in 2023 outside my window, but it came to Fionn McCool and Oisin. Like, that connection is huge as well. The cuckoo appears as a symbol of female beauty in some Irish legends. And it's probably from a play on words due to the word cuach, meaning both cuckoo and a curl or a ringlet in your hair. So there was one story, in one particular story, the daughter of a pagan king from Greece travels to Ireland to hear about God, to learn about religion, and is baptised by St. Patrick. And as it's summer, she hears the cuckoo calling from the trees and remarks how lovely it is. So she was enchanted by the cuckoo. And in response, Patrick calls the cuckoo and it lands on the palm of his hand. And he makes a cage of wood and gives it to the girl. So she keeps the bird and brings it back with her to Greece. So that's a story from the time of St. Patrick. And in another story, a very beautiful princess called Cray, daughter of King Carbra, was described as Cray for whom cuckoo calls. So beauty and summertime are associated with these things. And actually, in that, so this girl, this princess Cray, a poem was written about her, and so this word play of cuckoo and curl or ringlet comes into play. And so the poem goes: "In your bright braided tresses there is a flock of cuckoos, and a bird which does not sing, yet torments all men." So there you go, the beauty of the so that play on words between the ringlets and the effect that the beauty of the young woman has on men, and the cuckoo coming into play there. A flock of cuckoos in your tresses. How gorgeous is that? So in terms of superstitions, hi again everybody. I just had to change the battery there, so we're back again, and I was talking to you a little bit about the cuckoo and its connection with summertime and beauty in Irish myth at the beginning of summer, and there are a whole load of myths surrounding when the cuckoo is first heard and whether it's good or bad luck, and apparently if you hear it in your left ear first it's bad luck, if you hear it in your right ear first it's good luck. If you hear it when you are hungry, then you'll be hungry for the rest of the year, and whatever you might be doing when you first hear it, that's what you'll end up doing for the rest of the year. So there are all of these amazing little sort of folklore tales connected with the first hearing of the cuckoo, because it's sort of a magical thing. And it also was connected with farming. So the arrival of the cuckoo marked the time for planting crops. So there's a little saying that goes: "If a cuckoo sits on a bare thorn, you may sell your cow and buy corn. But if she sits on a green bough, you may sell your corn and buy a cow." So, and any oats then, or any crops sown after the 1st of April were known as cuckoo oats or cuckoo crops, and thought to yield a very, very poor crop. So it was thought that all corn should be sown before the cuckoo's first call. And in Galway, anyone who sowed corn on May Day or May Eve, so the 1st of May, so at that late stage, if anybody was sowing corn, they were known as Laddie Leishke na Cuacha, which means the lazy lads of the cuckoo. So, and anything that they sowed would be worthless or with no nourishment. So really interesting connections with farming and how nature really was, I suppose, very present for people in this country, and I'm sure all over the world, all over Europe, in times, in, I suppose, historic times. Yeah, so it's something that is also connected with the weather. So if you heard the cuckoo, or rather the last 3 days of April and the first 3 days of May were called the Cuckoo Days. And a storm at that time was known as a cuckoo storm. And in Donegal, then it was believed that if the cuckoo called with a clear, sweet voice, it meant that good weather was on the way, and that if it called intermittently only, then with a hoarse voice, then it meant bad weather. So actually, that cuckoo that I heard on the 20th of May was so clear and so loud, and so beautiful and such a sweet voice that I think it was actually telling that there was going to be this good weather coming on the way, and it didn't take long for the weather to pick up after that. So I'd like to think that that's what he was saying. Then it was also believed that the cuckoo arrived in Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, and that it left when at the time of the summer solstice, or at the rising of the dog star Sirius, which apparently happens around the summer solstice on the 21st of June. So it's actually a really short window. It's only between, so it's, April, May, June, but really May is the time you really hear it, and then it begins to fade away in June. And there's a poem, an Irish poem, that goes with that idea of the cuckoo, and it says, so there are simple poem, 5 lines. In April come he will, in May he sings all day, in June he alters his tune, in July he prepares to fly, and in August go he must. And any of you who grew up in the 1970s or 60s, or were interested in American folk music at that time, will instantly recognise the connection between those words and Simon and Garfunkel's song, April Come She Will. And when I read them today, I said, oh my goodness, that sounds very similar to his song, which goes, April come she will, when streams are ripe and swelled with rain. May she will stay, resting in my arms again. June she'll change her tune, in restless walks she'll prowl the night. July she will fly, and give no warning to her flight. August die she must, the autumn winds blow chilly and cold. September I'll remember, a love once new has now grown old. And apparently Paul Simon based that the lyrics of that song on this poem about the cuckoo. So, and of course I suppose the theme of his was the love of a woman, but so similar to this time of the year when the cuckoo comes and goes as quickly as it comes. So the idea of that new love is so fleeting, and as soon as it's come, it's gone. And I suppose that leads me on then to the Seanachal, or the wise Irish saying of this podcast. I've decided I'm going to try and include one in every podcast. And just with that idea, excuse me, that something that comes and fleetingly, it's so beautiful, and it's because it's so rare. So there's a saying that what's rare is wonderful in Irish, and it is an rud is anmh is iontach, an rud is anmh is iontach. Beautiful saying. What's rare is wonderful, and it's so true. When we think of the cuckoo's voice and the sound of the cuckoo, it's such a rarity that when we hear it, it's like magic. And that's it for this week, and thank you so much for listening. The sun is actually nearly dipping down behind my house now, so I'm just getting the last few minutes of sunlight, and it's been an absolute pleasure to podcast from my garden on this absolutely glorious 28th of May, really stunning early summer day in Ireland. And I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's brought you some warmth wherever you are, and I hope some inspiration for the knitting and some entertainment with the interest on in Neil McCutcheon's Irish Birds. I don't know if I showed this already, but this is all of the information I gave you on the cuckoo is from this book, Neil McCutcheon, Ireland's Birds, Myths, Legends and Folklore. So I hope you've enjoyed all of that, and delve into this a bit more, because there's tons more information. I've only picked out a few little tidbits to whet your appetite, and just to recognise the glorious sound of the cuckoo. I'm hoping that I think I might have said this already, that there's a track of the cuckoo that I heard that morning on the 20th of May that I'm hoping to put up as footage at the end of this video. And so thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the video, and please leave a comment, and I love your comments. It's so lovely to see them and read them, and I read them all, and I really appreciate them. And thank you for joining me on this glorious Irish summer day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Hopefully midsummer will be the next podcast. Okay, we'll aim for that anyway, and I hope you're all having a lovely early summer in the Northern Hemisphere and early winter in the southern part of the world. I hope you're all just keeping well, And take care, all of you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye now.
I would be up waiting for you if you had to leave. I would wait a lifetime if you were at sea. I just wanna say that I feel that our love is real. Maybe we should hurry up and seal the deal. Take you there. I would give it all away to do it all again. Make our love a story that would never end. Never thought I'd feel so alive, looking in your eyes. I just wanna love you till the day I die. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better, 'cause I love take you there. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better, 'cause a love like this is rare. And I wanna take you there.